Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to No Head Podcast, where we learn to live in the present moment and navigate life together. How are you doing, breathers? That's my name for all of you who are taking time to breathe and be in the present moment. Today, we are talking about all things chocolate, wine, and creative mindfulness. My guest today is
Danson Seete from the Ythera Chocolate Club.
right.
Yes.
And we will be talking with Danson about creative mindfulness. But Danson, before we begin,
Yep.
let's take a moment to fully arrive
Okay.
by just taking time to breathe in and out. And that helps us fully arrive and be in this present moment. So we will breathe in through the nose to a count of 5, hold to a count of 2, and then breathe out slowly to a count of 5.
Okay.
And we will do that 3 times.
Okay.
Will you join me?
I'll join you.
All right. So let's breathe in, hold, breathe out slowly. Breathe in, hold, breathe out slowly. Breathe in, hold, breathe out slowly. And now let your breathing return to its normal rhythm. Breathing in and out. Not controlling your breathing, just letting it be. And when you're ready, come back to this present moment. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you.
Relaxing.
Relaxing,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
it?
quite relaxing. Yeah.
How was it? Danson, I'm so thrilled that you could make time. You know how much I've been stalking you on Instagram, wanting to interview
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
One question I always start with when talking to my guests is just finding out, how was 2020 for you? What were some of the lessons you learned, or what are some of the lessons you're learning?
Okay. First of all, is to thank you for inviting me to this podcast.
Mm,
I was really looking forward to it. So thanks again.
mm,
So last year was quite disruptive, I guess, for everyone, I guess, and
mm,
especially if you're an entrepreneur or something like that.
mm,
But for me, the main lesson for me was that everything is changing. Okay, doesn't matter uh, as much as we'd like to hold on to, like, say, a moment.
mm,
Everything is changing, and I had to rise up to that moment that I have to adapt to what's happening right now.
mm.
So the biggest lesson was change.
And when we come to this, to this year,
Yep.
you are founder of Ythera Chocolate Club. I have never heard of a chocolate club in Kenya.
Yeah.
Please tell us what led you to find this chocolate club.
Yeah.
What is it about?
Okay, fine. So the Ythera Chocolate Club, ideally, it's a diverse multicultural group of individuals drawn through curiosity, creative energy, and entrepreneurial zeal. Okay. We're also chocolate enthusiasts who meet up to share our savory experiences with chocolates and wine. So that's how we define ourselves. So I do run an e-commerce website, or rather like a gifting platform that sells artisanal chocolates. So that has been running for the last 8 years.
Yeah, I love it. I must say, it's a wonderful
Yeah,
website. If
thanks.
one wants to order fine chocolate, great flowers,
Yeah.
it's really well done.
Exactly. Thanks.
Mm.
So 2 years ago, I personally got tired being a techie and just staying behind the computer. And I felt the need of looking for people who relate to my type of vibe. I call it vibe.
Mm.
So I thought the existing group were either too expensive to join, let's say the clubs, or they're a bit, let's say, cliche.
Right.
Okay. So I thought, okay, fine. Why don't I curate something and draw people of the same vibe? And that was the inspiration of the Ythera Chocolate Club. Okay, so basically to draw in people that were drawn into the same values. And our commonality is, like I said, curiosity.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
curiosity more than economics or geographical differences,
Right.
which sort of like set the threshold for other clubs. Okay, so that was the motivation. So it's been the last 2 years, which is basically a group of, let's say it's very mashed up. It entails professionals, artists, and we meet up quarterly to more or less share our experience with
Right.
chocolate and wine, and also give platforms to discuss very unique topics in our events.
What I like about that is the curiosity, because mindfulness as a practitioner for me really brings out the curiosity. You don't do things just the same way, but you're always curious about how will this go. What has surprised you most in your meetings in this club, from your membership? What has been the most surprising thing?
Being able to accommodate like disruptive thinking, okay? Being able to uh, disruptive thinking in all areas. Like I've said, even in business, even as an artist, because a lot of opportunities in terms of that were existing before, they're like very predictable, and we felt there's a lot of cliche happening. And even just to provide an opportunity to draw in people who are willing to take risks.
Right.
Okay. So for us was that an opportunity for us to deeply immerse ourselves in this space. And of course, which better than do it over chocolates and artisanal chocolates? I mean, and wine,
Right. We were talking just before we started, and you're talking about, I was asking you, why chocolate? We don't grow cocoa in Kenya, or you don't grow cacao in Kenya. Share with us what led you to this journey of chocolate and the chocolate club, and how it has been, and teach us more about chocolatiers.
Okay. So it's interesting. So initially, the website was just selling normal gifting items, flowers, and just some random items, basically. And I felt, okay, fine, anyone can do that. So there's once I was at a mall, and I went and found like a very fancy shop that looked like a jewelry shop, only to find out that it was selling artisanal chocolates. And the first instinct I got there, because I don't say that I like chocolate per se. I'm not like
You
I've really,
don't?
by the time,
Right.
because that was my first interaction with artisanal chocolates. So the level of detail and excellence in terms of how the chocolates were being displayed, the shop really got me thinking. And I felt at the shop, I felt the possibilities. Like there was such a nice vibe to it. And being someone coming from the creative space, I could relate to that also, like on the possibilities.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
The perceived value, the perception. So those are the key things that I felt when I was at the shop. And I felt, okay, fine. If I was to sell these items on my website, not only would I be providing something of value and exclusive, it also provided for me an opportunity to, as a creative, to just expand my mind wildly without having any restrictions, basically, because of what chocolate represents, So for me, that was it. The inspiration was purely how it made me feel. And that was before even I tried the artisanal chocolate. Before then, I couldn't tell you what's the difference between.
So it was just the whole
the
experience
vibe,
of being in the
yes,
shop, and you're like, this is amazing.
and the possibilities, basically, because at the shop I could feel like I'm in France. So like, what other items can make me feel like this? So for me, that was very important. And being in the marketing space, I always feel the possibilities is one of the things that you have to push, basically. So I felt this is it. I feel I can sell the promise here. So that was why I said, let me start trying to sell it. 2 years, no sales.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was very foreign,
Right.
It was very foreign. And
I
like,
can imagine.
but I never gave up. Actually, it just pushed me further to be more creative. What will it take? So over the years, I was able to visualize and live it, basically, and also get to interact with the chocolatier and the chocolate at a personal level.
Right.
And also read into it. There's no chocolate schools locally. So most of my references were from European inspirations. But the last 2 years, I was confident enough that I think I can talk boldly about chocolates. Yeah, that's where we are right now.
So, talk to us about the possibilities. I think most people just look at chocolate and don't know about the possibilities there are when you look at this chocolate. So,
Okay.
what what are the possibilities? What does that world open up to us?
Okay.
Yeah,
Specifically, when I'm talking about chocolate, I'm talking about artisanal chocolate because that's where
right.
the possibilities are, the journey basically.
Mm,
What is involved before you get that dessert? Okay, so for
mm,
me, uh, I like the philosophy of chocolate making also, artisanal chocolate, and I could feel I could apply this in so many other areas in life.
absolutely,
Okay, the
absolutely.
level of excellence that is involved in the
Mm,
chocolate making process.
right.
So that for me is what I could pick as an attribute, and I felt
Mm,
I can apply this in so many other areas as a
mm.
professional, basically. So for me, I at a personal level, I see the possibility as that. Okay, it's very subjective. Someone else feels chocolate might be bougie or whatever, but for me, it's the possibilities that I was able to draw from the process.
And talk to us about this event because I know I was looking forward to the
Yeah,
creative
yeah,
mindfulness event
yeah,
before the third lockdown
yeah,
happened.
yeah.
So tell us more about the event so we know what to expect at the next event.
Yes. Unfortunately, to the lockdown, we had
Right.
to pose it down. But interestingly, one of the themes of our events is chocolate meditation.
Whoa, I
Okay.
love that.
Yeah. So chocolate meditation is a form of mindfulness. Okay,
Yes.
where we learn how to create a mental shift,
Mm,
savoring oral pleasures by mindfully taking small bites.
mm,
So essentially, we achieve this through a full sensory experience,
mm,
enjoying a piece of chocolate. So when you told me actually we're going to talk about creative mindfulness,
mhm.
I mean, as a creative and as a mindfulness student, yeah, I could intimately relate since most of us at some point in our lives have been immersed so much in a creative process or art
Right.
making that
Right.
we've lost track of time. And this happens because creative activities ease us into a process of focus,
Exactly.
right?
Yes.
Concentration, absorption, and flow, which are still the same state we are in when you're practicing what? Meditation.
Right.
You see? So by this
Right.
definition, photography, painting, coding, including
Right.
chocolate making, I can say they're naturally mindful.
Right. Exactly. Because you
Yes,
get lost in
exactly.
it when you're involved in the
You
process.
get lost in it, and sometimes I define it as a holistic experience that you feel
Mm,
when you act with total involvement. So, and to give this context on a day-to-day basis,
mm,
so talking about craft chocolate from an African perspective
mhm.
has always been an emotional experience for me. Yeah. So for most people, chocolate is just a synonymous with indulgence, a rich
Right.
treat,
Rich.
you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, but for the millions of small-scale farmers in West Africa who grow most of the world's cocoa,
Mm,
it's a synonym for destitution, poverty. So I always think, I mean, how can an export-driven natural resource that generates tons of revenue for
mm,
government, at the same time lead paradoxically in the economic stagnation and in some
mm,
cases political instability?
mm.
So every time for us as the Ythera Chocolate Club, when we meet up, it's an appreciation and a celebration of
Right. Right.
the bean to bar process of chocolate making. You know?
Do you choose which side? Do you choose where your coffee comes from? Like, has it been, is it through the right channels? Is it being produced well? Are the
Yes,
farmers well
exactly.
remunerated?
Because you see, uh, like I said, the whole point is appreciating the process because we get to fully understand what it takes before the dessert gets on your plate.
Right.
And most of the chocolatiers, like the ones who sell from, they source their beans from West Africa specifically,
Okay.
you know.
Mm,
And this is very interesting that I've brought up the chocolatier. This is someone who uses chocolate as his canvas to
mm,
express his personality in form of flavor and character. In a way, you and I can experience it. And even to push it further, the chocolate making can be quite a complex and an expensive process.
mm,
Each and every step has to be almost perfect as it dictates if you're going to end up with something scrumptious or something quite distasteful. And to some extent, I always tell guys, this process can be defined as an ephemeral occupation.
mm,
And that in spite of the complexities involved in the making, the final product is ultimately judged from a point of if it's good or bad chocolate. So, uh, as a creative and a chocolate lover, this leads me to wonder if the most valuable takeaway from this endeavor
mm.
is the process over the product. So the process is constant here. When you meet, what makes the difference between craft chocolate and compound or industrial chocolate is the process. See, so that's very and it's the same thing about creative mindfulness. It's basically appreciating the process, you know, than just entirely focusing on the goal or end result. You know, and this is the same case with art. When people try to shrink art entirely into a price point,
Right.
and they leave out the process. So in our event that we had to cancel it the last minute, we had already invited a few artists to talk about the process.
Right.
And right now with the NFTs coming up, we feel it's a challenge. NFTs have challenged that bit because now it's a price point. It's how much
You're bidding.
that piece can
Right.
fetch. You see? And so what happens to the process? What happens to the process? It has to be appreciated, basically. You know? So the event was predominantly just to create awareness of that. You know, and we had different people from different areas of wellness. There's yoga, there was holistic healing, which are all in the same space of wellness. And then us, we're talking about
chocolate
mindfulness. Okay, because depending on the context, you can apply it where it seems fit for you.
Yeah.
Okay? And if you ask me also, like chocolate mindfulness is in itself, it's an activity that it's enjoyable, it's pleasurable, and it's intrinsically motivating. Okay, as a creative, when we act from a point of when we direct our creative optimum, okay, in whatever you're working on, we achieve some level of mastery.
Yes, absolutely.
So this was it was something dear to us, and most of the time I'm at the village market. There are quite a lot of art galleries there, so at a personal level I could relate, and I think a lot of them also had a challenge of expressing themselves past let's say the traditional ways of expressing. So the event was also to talk about unique ways to basically create conversation around art. You see, because I mean, we're having a chocolate event, but the theme is creative mindfulness.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you missed it up, but we were going to line up different types of art, different mediums that day, so that we immerse. So
it was going to be just a whole experience.
Yes, in a very nice restaurant inspired by some Greece guys from Greece. So it was a fully immersive experience. However, it's about the people still. You know, it's about the people. So that was it, creative mindfulness, and it's something that we are going to do it later this year.
Right.
Only there'll be a bit of a twist. We are going to integrate AR and VR.
Oh, that's going to be
because we just thought technology,
then you do.
technology and art
use
should
that.
coexist. Because we felt, okay, fine, we can talk about art, but I mean the world is moving still, regardless of you're talking about NFTs. So we also should talk about the opportunities that local artists have to showcase their art in the modern day world. So we're going to have like a tribal art exhibition coming up. Actually, that's my collection, because these items, I'm going to handpick them. We're going to work with a few artists, and we're going to augment them with the technical team.
So do an AR sort of thing, augmented reality,
so that it's practical. It's practical and it's holistic.
Right.
You know? So it's what we're looking for. It's possibly going to be in August, because there's a lot of development going behind the scene. But essentially, that's it. To generate conversation around mindfulness in different themes also. Yes.
I'm going to come back to the idea of process, later, because I think that that's such an important part. But talk to us about, there's the chocolate and the wine, and I see you do a lot of pairing events. How does that work for you? Because it's for the members.
Okay.
But again, I sense that there's a lot of mindfulness, because it's pairing these and savoring, and there's a lot of taste and practice. Tell us, what are some of the events you've had, and what you hope to get from these pairing events?
Okay. So in total, we have had, since the time we launched, I think 10 events.
Okay.
A few are open, like anyone could just join. And then over the years, our membership is exclusive. However, mindfulness is very key. It's wellness is a key theme in our events,
Okay.
literally. And you see, when we mindfully engage with our food,
Mm.
there are numerous health benefits that will occur.
Absolutely. Yes. You
I mean,
don't eat as much,
exactly.
first of all.
and what better way for me to introduce this than through a full sensory experience, enjoying a piece
Right.
of chocolate? Because when you're
Right.
doing chocolate meditation, essentially you're using our senses during savory, which is
Yeah.
like if you don't pick a piece of chocolate, depending on the type of mindfulness you practice, you
Mm.
can self-direct your breathing. But the
Right.
chocolate was interesting because the last event we did it in a spa, a wellness spa. So we wanted to immerse
Right.
everything and see what was the reaction, basically. So ideally, we served chocolate, like dark chocolate specifically.
Mm.
Okay, I mean, ideally that's the best chocolate, to the most healthiest rather, that we normally use for any of our events. Of course, we try the other chocolates, but dark chocolate goes up there.
Right. Well, it has less
I mean,
calories.
yes, I mean, it's just amazing. And again, for artisanal chocolate, people have the wrong misconception. It's bittersweet. So I always meet
Right.
people like, no, dark chocolate's bad. It's like, have you tried artisanal chocolates?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say all artisanal chocolates is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you need to have okay.
Yes. That's why we like, for the membership, it's not just local chocolatiers. Sometimes
Mm.
we import some chocolate from some of the chocolatiers globally who are doing really nice stuff, so that we have like a holistic experience
Right.
of artisanal chocolates. We don't say that compound chocolate is bad. It's still chocolate, but we just try to emphasize of
Yeah.
what is fully artisan.
So you're training someone, the palate, to know what is the difference,
Exactly. And
isn't it?
and exactly how do you savor chocolate? And fortunately, chocolate and wine just, they marry.
Yeah, the best friends ever. I know. That's why I love your events. But tell us, how does one become a member?
A member.
Yeah.
So normally there's an application process online for membership.
Does it take like 6 months to be
No.
to be approved, like in most clubs?
No. Most of the time it's a personal referral most of the time.
Okay.
But someone can just apply.
Okay.
There's a bunch of questions just to see if also you're a match for the club.
Okay.
Because if you just want chocolates, I don't think you just need to be a member.
Okay.
We look for the membership. It's people who are willing to identify with the community.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the membership is there.
Okay.
So if you want a one-off thing, normally we post on our website when the next open event is, and you can definitely just get a ticket.
And that's at your website. Is everything on your website?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. On our website, there's an events page.
Okay.
So you can see what events are open, which ones are exclusive for the members, basically.
Right.
So ideally, that's it. There's a membership procedure application online, and then you apply, and then we have a team that approves.
Okay.
Of course, there's a subscription amount, and then
so is the subscription amount a one-off, and then you renew like
Yes,
like
it's
with
annual.
clubs, and then
Yes.
annual, and then you renew
Yes.
at the same rate, or you have a one-off and then the renewal is less?
Actually it increases every year.
Okay.
Yeah, depending on the themes and the locations where we intend to have our
Right.
events.
Right.
But it's a one-off.
And then you don't pay for anything during that
You
year?
don't pay anything.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
you don't pay for anything.
That's quite
Yeah,
reasonable.
and basically, if you're a member, if you're having, let's say if you're joining as a spouse, it's discounted to some
Right.
extent.
Right.
But yes, for people who really want to walk in this artisanal journey, besides that, just be in the wellness space. So ideally, it's a perfect match.
Right.
Yes.
Let's come back to the idea of process versus end product, because you're talking about it's so important to understand the process. And a lot of times we sort of look at the end product, we forget about the process.
Yeah.
And sort of applied to your life, as someone in tech and this journey you've been. How has the process been for you? We are not yet at the end product, but it's been a journey of 13 years
Yes.
of having Ythera.co.ke. Talk to us about the process. What are some of the lessons you've learned that have made Danson who he is?
Yeah. That's quite an interesting question, actually. I think it changes from person to person, first of all. But there's nothing I've come to appreciate as much as the process. like just appreciating each milestone as you move on. Okay. And also immersing yourselves in those small milestones is extremely important.
I like that, immersing
Yes,
yourself
yeah,
in those milestones, because
yes,
sometimes
yeah,
we're in a hurry. We don't take time to also appreciate those
yeah,
milestones.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you ask me, when I started the chocolate, I was not really sure that I'm going to attract any person to be interested in this. But right now, I mean, our membership, the exclusive is more than 20 people.
Wow.
So you don't pass that. There's a cap for
Oh,
that.
really? So I can't apply?
No, it depends. It depends. It depends because also when you, for the membership, it also depends if you're also constant. Some people here for 1 year.
Right.
So maybe they fall off, maybe for 2 years they're back. So they want to reactivate the membership.
Right.
So you always get people who are always there. And depending on, maybe they're not in the country. So we always get members now and then.
Okay.
Okay. And over the years, we have grown into a point whereby we have now inspired something called the Aspire Business Club.
I saw that on
If
Instagram.
you see our tabs, there's the Chocolate Club on one side, Aspire, which is basically an enterprise tier of the Chocolate Club. This is entirely for people who want to meet entirely for business related. Because over time, you get to know, oh, Dan is a good techie.
Right.
Or Dorothy is a mindfulness coach. I think we should work on something. Right. So that allows us to push it past the chocolate experience and make it exclusively also for people who want to make meaningful conversations and collaborations, investment in that space.
Right.
Okay, so it's called the Aspire Business Club. We are hopefully going to launch it again also during this
the next creative mindfulness.
Yes. So, and that is a byproduct also, like the process. Like over the years of doing a lot of chocolate, we have had an opportunity to interact with a lot of artists, experts from a global perspective. And it filtered to like, okay, fine, I think, why don't we push it? It's members driven. They're the ones who say, hey, Dan, I think let's now push this even further. The people who want to just enjoy the fine dining experience of the chocolate and wine, that's fine. But besides that, we realize that most of us have had a background of professional experience for at least a decade. I think the best way to achieve optimum results for us is if we also work in some few collaborated projects. And that's something that we're doing also with like the coming event, Creative Mindfulness. One of the members is, she runs a very nice, she's an art collector from Africa. She had handpicked.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. So it's like, Dan, why don't we mash up something? We make it something that propels also our own individual professionals, and
right.
We leverage on our strength.
But that means that, so even as you're in the process, there must be a certain openness.
Yes.
How do you keep yourself open to these possibilities in the process?
I mean, this is interesting. It's an interesting question. What are you asking specifically about career-wise, or
yes, or just in life, being open? Because I think that sometimes you're so used to doing things in a certain way that if an opportunity opened up, one may not even be ready for it, or may not know that actually, we're doing this. Why don't we have an Aspire Business Club? It makes sense to do that. Or why don't we combine our mindfulness and because we are so close, we don't leave room for openness.
Yes. It's interesting because for me, I'm a very intense person. That's one of the reasons I as a mindfulness student, I started studying mindfulness.
Okay.
Because I used to get overwhelmed.
Right.
It's too intense. It's too intense for me to slow down. Let me say that. So mindfulness was therapeutic for me, first of all. Just being able to, with your intensity, being able to slow down and not being able to get overwhelmed with everything about you as a creative or as an entrepreneur. So these are for ideally, if I don't like cliche. See, so I personally get bored. It's a strength and a weakness. I get bored very fast also. So
is that part of your tech self? Like, let me move on to the next big thing.
Yeah, exactly. But rather than just see it like as a bad thing per se. I can acknowledge, yeah, I get bored.
Right.
It's like in mindfulness. You
Yes.
acknowledge, okay,
You
fine.
acknowledge
I get angry
exactly.
quite fast.
Right. Name
Okay.
it.
Yes, but it's not going to change how I react to things. So that's the same thing. I'm very spontaneous, and I wanted to attract a lot of people who would relate to that. That's why we incorporate the wellness part. Okay, it's very important for us to incorporate that, and it allows you to know that in spite of those what the noise, rather, you can acknowledge the noise. Our life is quite hectic right now, day-to-day activities. You still have an opportunity of identifying the opportunities in the noise and still choosing what to do, I guess. Yeah, so that's it. Being constant and just not fearing. But I think also that comes with time, because when I work with the very, very young tech guys, it's very hard for you to explain the process. Because
Right.
yeah,
They're impatient.
they're very impatient. I tell people before, like my e-commerce platform, I think made some reasonable milestone. And I think for e-commerce, for you to get milestone is daily organic conversions.
Right.
Reasonable. It took almost 7 to 10 years.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, fine. Some people do a website and they think maybe a month or two or 1 year it's enough. Like, no, it's not. When I talk about tech, I like telling people that tech is past. Yes, it's past the technical details. The human touch is extremely important. Like when we started the Chocolate Club, our e-commerce just went way further. Yes, we have done all the tech stuff, optimizing the site and everything, which is fine enough. It's like a standard. But the human touch was missing. The human touch. So when you go to the Chocolate Club or when you check the website, I try to sell the experience. When you look at the chocolates, I want you to see like the possibility, the dream. What is this? Who are these people? Otherwise, I think anyone can just do a website like mine and put a bunch of chocolates, but they can't match the experience because you have to live it. You have to. It has to be authentic. It has to be real. So, and that takes time. There's no shortcut.
Right.
So, going forward, that inspires anything technical I'm working on. Okay, there has to be some. It has to evoke something.
Right. I like that.
It has to evoke something.
Yeah.
It just can't be like a technical thing that has a disconnect. I think right now with AR that we're talking about, traditionally AR was very disconnected. It looked very nerdy. But technology is quite advanced. I mean, with AR being used for almost literally everything, educational purposes,
exactly.
the filters on
every
Instagram
field.
and everything, I felt, okay, fine. I'm not so much immersed on the technical detail. I think that one is way ahead. Okay, so that's not what we are into so much.
Right.
But the end user experience.
Right.
Okay, so I want an artist that I'm working with from West Africa. They're going to give me their own masks, and they're going to see how technology and art can coexist. That makes it relevant to me right now.
Right.
Than just trying to give them this jargon about, and they see like, okay, fine, someone in France can be able to augment this event also, So for us, the experience is very important. It's not just about your nerds. So personally, that's why I don't even refer myself so much. It's more of on the chocolate space. I'm a creative. I'm a disruptive person.
Right.
I'm a strategist.
Right.
So I don't like to put myself as just a tech brain on a chocolate connoisseur. That's professionally, yes.
Right.
But I'm so much more.
You're
an artist.
so much more.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
an artist.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to end this episode. Danson is an artist, a creator. And what he's reminded us is how it's so important that whatever we do evokes something in others. The experience, it's all about experience. What experience are we creating? What experience are we evoking in the work that we do? And with that, please follow me on No Head Podcast on Instagram. And remember not to get too overwhelmed. Be curious. And may whatever you do evoke some wonderful experience in other people who appreciate the work that you do. That's all for now. Bye bye. Thank you.